Hi, I'm Hazel, and today I wanted to share with you guys some really cool BfA weapon mogs that I've been seeing on the alpha. For me, and I think for a lot of people, it's been a while since we've really properly gotten into mogging our weapons. You know, when you have the actual doom hammer, it takes a special kind of person to turn around and then make that look like a normal hammer. Most of the appearances that you're going to see here are available as loot in BfA dungeons, and they actually have 3 different colorways each for the most part. You get one in normal, one in heroic, and then one in mythic. I try not to do this mid-video, but I'm going to adjust my camera to point down just a little bit more because my cat's in my lap and I have to share. You can't keep something this cute to yourself. So in alphabetical order, because that's how I stored my files, here is the Adulation Enforcer. So this thing, it's like, not only is it a bleeding eye that's bleeding out of its iris, but it's also like spurting blood out of what appears to be a hole at the bottom of the eye. And then somebody's taken that eye and then mounted it onto a spiky stick for you to carry around as a mace. And then it doesn't even necessarily look like a biological eye. Like, to me, that looks like a Titan eye or like a construct eye or, you know, Mimiron's eye. Now this next one is a one-handed sword. It's got kind of like a wooden pirate theme going on. The blade of the sword, in addition to the handle of the sword, appears to be wood with like metal edging, which is curious. And then it's got shinies all over it. I don't know if anybody's gonna be running around with this as like their end game raid mog, but if you're putting together like a beginner pirate starter pack, I think this is a good place to start. This next one is the Aureus vessel, and I love this thing. It's an offhand, and it's dripping, and when it's on normal difficulty, it's a pot of gold. But when you level up to heroic or mythic difficulty, it turns into a pot of blood. Or maybe it was blood all along and the first one is just blood from somebody that bleeds in gold, which, you know, we could find. You know, there's a lot of gold stuff going on in Zandalar. I always appreciate offhands that allow me to carry around mystery fluids, and I wish we got to take our offhands out more. Like, to my knowledge, they only really come out when you press the button to pull them out. I think that for the most part, they just kind of like stay stashed somewhere, you know, presumably leaking on something. This next one is a two-handed staff, and if I had organized this video to have my favorites at the end, this absolutely would have been at the end. Look at this thing! It's called Blight Reaper, although I believe it does have other names. I saw it and I'm just like, that is my staff. Like, looking at my void up, I just put this like ratty brown robe on to not distract from the weapons that I was trying on, but I was like, that is my mog! Our next appearance here is the Coral-Edged Crescent, and I almost skipped over this one because I looked at it and I was like, well, that's a fat bow. And then I look at the description and it turns out that it's a warglaive, and it's the only warglaive that I've seen so far, so I figured it would probably be nice to put it in here. And now knowing it as a warglaive and kind of imagining somebody holding 2 and stabbing people with them rather than just using it as a very thick bow, I think it's growing on me. Next up is the Corruptionborn Heads. This is a two-handed axe. It doesn't look particularly sharp. I feel like it's more of a bludgeon somebody's neck until their head gives up being attached kind of thing. But I feel like if you're a Zandalar troll and you want to go rocking around with a two-handed axe, you have to give this one a try for at least a little bit. It's so shiny. So this thing is a one-handed sword, and it's listed as a Crackling Jade Kilij, K-I-L-I-J, which I looked at and could not figure out how to read, and then just decided it's a Kijiji. I really like the colors of this thing on normal when it's like super jade. As you level up through heroic and mythic, it gets a little bluer, but you always keep that nice little lightning effect that I think keeps this in contention as like an endgame mog contender. Next up here we have our first shield. This is the Disc of Indomitable Will. Comes in a couple of different colors, of course, and it has danglies. You know, you got some dangly feathers, you got some dangly coins. I feel like if you show up at the auction house and you forgot your wallet, you should be able to use those to buy your enchants before raid. It's probably not how this game works, but you know, it's got danglies. This next one is a two-handed mace called the Dismembered Submersible Claw, and this is the first one that I've seen that's a little bit more mechanical in nature. To me, this thing just looks like a very large wrench that's experiencing some electrical difficulties. I like to think that if this is a goblin product, that the pink and lime green colorway you get from Mythic is like a limited edition that they sold in conjunction with like a goblin energy drink promotional campaign. This next one here is another staff, and I'm gonna call this one the Flamecaster Thingy Doodle. They really don't know how to pronounce a botefu. I'll type it on the screen and maybe some of you can help me learn how to say that. Staff mogs have always been my favorite weapon mogs, and this one, you know, you got like a Culturan thing going on with like, there's a marine tentacle thing, I think, not to be confused with Old God and Void tentacles, although maybe to be confused, we'll find out. You get a real Lovecraftian vibe from it, you know, there's some very spooky, misty, depressing sea towns in some of the original Lovecraft stories, and that's the kind of vibe that I get from this staff. Next, we got another shield for you, and this one is less of a casting shield and more of a get away from me, I have a door and you're going away now shield. It's actually called the Go Away Crowd Repeller with some letters changed out for numbers like people that make insecure passwords. Because nothing really says super angry warrior tank like ripping off a door and then smacking people with it, you know? If I'm gonna play a warrior, that is my class fantasy. So unlike the thick bow that wasn't actually a bow, this next one is actually a bow. This one is the Hallowed Ossane Longbow, and it looks a little bit simple when you first look at it, but there's quite a bit going on here. You've got like some snake heads carved in wood on either end of it. You've got some lightning effects, and then you also have like these jade insets, as well as like the matching beads on these little strings. It's such a pretty bow. Our first dagger here is the heart-piercing stalactite, and this one isn't so much remarkable for the model, but more so for the particle effects going on it. That is an unenchanted model, just like straight out of the dungeon journal, and I don't know why it is so spooky, and you can see them kind of like wrapping around it in like ribbons, but like splotchy dark energy ribbon. It's a little stabber, but it looks effective. This next set of offhands isn't listed as dungeon drop, probably gonna mean just either like green gear, you know, world drop green gear, possibly quest rewards, that kind of thing. But I love this. Again, we have that like marine tentacle stick thing. This one is carved out of wood instead of metal. And then you got a nice lantern. I always loved lantern offhands, and the way to make a lantern better is to stick it on an octopus tentacle. Let's get this little thing is another kind of miscellaneous Zandalari themed world drop appearance. This is a little offhand, and it's just super cute. It kind of looks like a toy dog, like a toy Zandalari dog puppet, you know, because it's got like a little, I mean, it's not really a bone, it's more like a string that has teeth on it, but you know, I feel like if you were a Zandalari, you were making toys for your children, it's probably gonna look like that. I thought that was cute. If you've been waiting to see a gun, you are in luck. Check out the Pacifist Mark 7. So there's a couple of things going on here that I really like. One is obviously the super cheesy, grinny painted face on like what appears to be a tiny cannon, rocket, extra explosive thing strapped to the gun because that's safe. Of course, you have a lit fuse on the end of it. And then the other thing on this gun that's easy to miss, but I thought was kind of cute, is kind of if you spin it around near the hand, there's a little, what looks like a pressure gauge that's just like spinning wildly out of control. And you know, that's what you want on your explosive weapon with extra explosives and fire attached to it, is just like a pressure gauge that's malfunctioning. Katie, are you done? Alright, next up here, this one is called Sea Breeze. This is another staff. You've got some scrolls tied to the staff part of your staff, and then the end thing kind of looks like the sort of weird, kind of high looking sun face things that people hang on the outside of their houses, except that instead of a sun face, it's like a kathanai. You know what I'm talking about? And then the other thing that I really like about this is when you get it up to the mythic colorway, which is bright red, it looks like instead of being just kind of like algae covered, it's just splattered in blood. I expect nothing less from my old god eye stabs. You have no idea how many times I accidentally said old guy stabs, which is, that's a different thing. This next one is a one-handed mace, and this would have definitely been top 3 if I was ordering these things. Tell me that you don't want to hit somebody with that thing. You got like a bone end. It looks like you just created the whole thing on like a leg bone. You threw some feathers on there that are probably from your parrot, you know, you didn't even mean for them to get there. It's just your parrot sheds and he's kind of sticky from all the tar in your life. You know, you've got like some barrelness, you got like a hook. Tell me you don't want to smack somebody with that. It's awesome. I love all of the colors. I particularly love the one with like the red feathers, just because I've seen a lot of red parrots. That mace can be had from Sky Captain Craig in the Freehold, among other places, but man, that thing's cool. Moving right along, we have another offhand here, and this one is physics enabled. Like, you can really whip this thing around. So we have a jar, which is being very securely held to your hand by a dangly rope, and it's just filled with like green goo on mythic, and then you've got like some red bloodlight goo on normal and heroic. And I don't really know what's in there. It kind of looks like 2 eyeballs in a candle, but you know, it could be anything. You know, that could be your bone collection, that could be some extra teeth you're carrying around, it could just be your lunch that you brought to work last year and then you never unpacked, and then by the time you found it, it was too far gone and you're just afraid to open it because there's gotta be bad gases in there. The last staff on the list is the staff of the Lightning Serpent, and I have never seen a more self-explanatorily named staff. But the thing that I thought was noticeable when I looked at this one was, you know, you look at it and you look at like that sturdy metal construction and like the shape of it, and I'm just thinking you could really do some gardening with that thing. Last on our list is the Twin Strike Polearm. You've got like this double-ended scythe thing. The thing that I really like about this polearm is that those blades are translucent. You can actually see a little bit through them. They look like glass, and that brings this from like a pretty nice appearance to like, it's like a glass double-sided polearm. And of course, polearms can be transmogged to stabs and vice versa. I'm pretty sure I've been using a polearm transmog on my druid staff forever. If you want to use that as a caster staff, you can. I don't think that it comes in any different colors just yet, and maybe it won't, but it's a really pretty weapon, and that one I'm convinced is sharp. Some of them didn't look super sharp. that one's sharp. So those are my favorites. I can't wait to mog my weapon again, and I'm specifically very excited to go and collect every octopus tentacle themed piece of transmog that I can find. I want to be Octopus Queen Hazel, the Shadow Priest. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think. If you haven't already, subscribe for more BFA videos from me, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.